Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Canadian drummer and label owner Ernesto Cervini of the band TuneTown on the 2021 CD Entering Utopia and this COVID-19 world we are all living in. This band also features Kelly Jefferson on tenor and soprano saxophones, along with Artie Roth on acoustic bass. This mix of a classic saxophone, bass, and drums trio has a distinguished history in jazz, and this collective has been at it since 2015, honoring that sacred tradition. 1 year ago, in March 2020, Ernesto and I had a much different conversation. A year later, you can hear how it's changed after we have gone through the unimaginable. But the constant has been the creation of music and exploring the resiliency of the jazz world. Enjoy.
Thank you for taking a minute out. I clearly remember the conversation we had around this time last year. So we'll keep our fingers crossed after we get off the phone.
Yes, please, and thank you. Let's hope that nothing like what happened after we talked last year ever happens again. Oh, I mean, my Lord.
Could we have even told each other in some like weird, fanatical, Aldous Huxley way and told us what was going to happen this year, and in any way, shape, or form, either of us would have believed it for a second?
No, I mean, no, because this is, it's just nothing that's happened in our lifetime, in like 100 years, right? The last time it happened was in the 1920s, and so we're so used to all this. I mean, it's funny because now I say we're so used to having all this freedom, but it wasn't all this freedom. It was just our lives.
I know.
It didn't feel like a lot of freedom to be able to go to the grocery store. That was just what you did when you needed food. And it didn't feel like a lot of freedom to be able to play music in front of people. That was just how I made a living. And now it's like, now I look on those things so fondly and like, oh, it'll be so great.
I know.
If I can play music for people again.
Yeah. It's bizarre, man. And people say that, like, oh, my God, I can't wait until we get to have this privilege. And it's like, no one, I don't think anybody was walking around saying, yeah, I'm going to take advantage of, like going to bowl today, or I'm going to take advantage of going to a baseball game. It was just a part of what we did, and no one's seen it. And, the interesting thing about this, when I think about Kansas City, is Kansas City may have had the longest uninterrupted run of live music because we were open during Prohibition. That's how we got the claim, Paris of the Plains. Pendergast let the liquor flow. Jazz juke joints were going crazy all night. So us shutting down was like the real like interruption of like a long stretch of like no, like live music was just going forever,
Right.
So it's so
kind of
bizarre.
nuts.
Yes, it is. So we can get into all of that, and I know, you're in a different kind of position because you own a label, you're a musician, you're very well oriented, you just won a major award. There's been a lot of things that have still been happening in your world, even though technically things have shut down. And I know from being a radio guy, you've consistently sent music, which has been awesome to me. I've had my mailbox full of CDs, my inbox full of CDs. So it's proof that the world is still moving. Jazz, this last year has proved to me that we don't just say that jazz is a resilient art form. It's been proven over and over and over again.
I think it's been really interesting because I feel like things haven't really, on one hand, things have slowed down or even stopped. And then on the other hand, like, things keep going in terms of, I mean, as a publicist, people are still making great music, and people are still working on the music they recorded before everything got shut down. And so, I mean, if we were shut down for 2 years or something, okay, at that point, things would dry up. At some point, people stop having things that they've recorded already when we were allowed to. But for the time being, people are still releasing music, and then, at least in Toronto, things could have opened up in last summer, and I think even up to just like mid-December, you could still, even though things were shutting down again, you could still go into recording studios. So people were still making music, and they had lots of time to work on all the post-production stuff because what else are we doing? So lots of time to mix and master and get the artwork together and kind of get your project towards completion as quickly as possible. And then everyone's at home, so people have time to write about music, people have time to read about music, and people have time to listen to music. So I think those are all great things that have come from this. But, it's also been hard to kind of sit and wait to be able to, like, I have a new project that I'm dying to record, and most of the music, I've never heard it played by anyone yet. So I'm just kind of waiting until I can do that.
Entering Utopia is a very unique name for an album coming out during a pandemic. What was, and TuneTown, such a power lineup. It had to be great, to get back with these guys, and then the name of the album. Kind of talk to me a little bit about that.
Sure. So TuneTown is, Kelly Jefferson on saxophone and Artie Roth on bass, and it is amazing to play with them. I love playing with these guys. They're both so talented and creative musicians and wonderful writers, and so it's just been a blast. I miss them so much. At least right now, kind of reliving everything through, promoting this new album and listening to this new album a little bit as we promote it, and so that's been really great. And the title, Entering Utopia, to be honest, it's the name of one of Artie's tunes. It's a contrafact, or it's a song that he wrote based on the changes to Out of Nowhere. I don't know all of the background behind the title, unfortunately. I can't tell the story as well as he does. But yeah, I think it's from a book. I don't know, it just sounded, when you look at how you're going to name the album, it just seemed like a really cool thing. And to be honest, we had the name picked out before any of this happened. So it actually, it doesn't correspond to what's happening in the world right now, but in a way I think it kind of could, because I feel like, and this is maybe stems from the fact that I'm a pretty eternally optimistic person, but I feel like we might be entering a really creative and exciting time for music and creative music. And I heard someone, actually it was Artie, I was talking to Artie the other day, and he said that it's going to be the Roaring 20s again, but it's going to be the Roaring 2020s this time. And, everyone's just going to be out celebrating and being together and making music and listening to music and just taking advantage of everything that we can, remembering that at some point it was all taken away from us. And so hopefully it'll be a little while before people take live music for granted, because it definitely sometimes feels, in Toronto it can be tough. There's a lot of, and I'm sure this is not unique to Toronto, but there's a lot of different things challenging for people's entertainment dollars, and so sometimes live music gets is a little lower on the totem pole or on the whatever ladder than it should be. So hopefully, this will be a little bit of a rebirth for all that stuff.
I agree, and I think there was a professor that said that historically this could mimic the Roaring 20s because we came out of a war and the fog of recession and entered into a whole new realm. And I think maybe, I don't know, I think there's a part of the human condition, psychologically speaking, that gets so conditioned by comfort and first world problems that we all collectively have had to go through what one musician explained to me, which was basically getting diagnosed with cancer. And then we had to go through treatment, and then we had to go through remission, which was the resurge, and then we had to actually beat it and come back out. And it's like we're all doing this together because, in our history, at our age, we remember things that have happened that have been big, but not on this scale and not globally, because sometimes it'll hit parts of the planet. So that's the thing that's unique about this, is that we've all felt this, and no one's going to be like, well, yeah, over here in America. Although America's really good about, we have the most possible drama that we can have, and we have to throw a race war on top of it. That's America for you.
You like to double down. We're just like, let's do everything now.
Yeah, it's not just that we're going to have a Kiss concert with pyrotechnics. We're going to have like an accidental bomb blow up, and then we're going to see what we can do after that. Welcome to America, kids.
Yeah.
So, man alive, we always do that. But I guess from a creative standpoint and an artistic standpoint, what do you ultimately want the listener to get from this? I know you have Groove Marketing working on this. They're a powerhouse group of cats. A lot of people are going to get this. And that's, awesome when I saw that come through. So what are your feelings on when people get their hands on this, what you want them ultimately to feel from this project?
I think the idea is that we really want it to be something that you're able to listen to from beginning to end, because there is a real cohesive kind of, I don't know if it's a story. I mean, it's not literally a story being told, but it is the kind of album that goes from beginning to end, and it starts off, the first song on the album is called Hello Today, which is basically like a greeting, and it's our way of saying hi. And our first album started off with a tune called Sonic Greeting, and it was the same thing. It's a way of saying hi, and it's what we would do in performance is we'd kind of start off with a way of saying hi to everyone. So, and then the last song on this album is a song called Blue Gardenia, which is this beautiful, like slow swing tune, and I actually play bass clarinet on it. Artie's like strumming on the bass. It's a totally different vibe, and it's got this it's kind of a nice way to just wrap things up. So I think the idea is that we really would love listeners to listen from beginning to end and kind of follow the emotional kind of journey that the music can take you on, and it's really fun, because one of the really cool challenges about playing in any trio is trying to find different textures and find different ways to be able to deliver 90 minutes, 60 minutes of music, whatever it is, if it's a live performance or a CD or an album, but to deliver a set of music and make it cohesive, but make it interesting and make it varied enough that it doesn't get boring, frankly. And so that's something that we are always kind of aware of. I mean, it's not something that we overtly we have to do something different now because we didn't and we got to, but it's just an idea of okay, what can we do? Why are we playing this piece? What can we do with it to make it really effective? Because jazz can fall into the head in, solos, head out thing. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, and I'm not saying we don't ever do that, but it's definitely not our default. The default is, I don't think there is one. The default is whatever serves the tune, whatever makes the statement, the most effective.
The world's starting to wake up. We're starting to get to a point where we're hearing about, today I found out 9% of the country is vaccinated. CDC said, people can start meeting now, and, shows are going to start popping up. We obviously had successful NFL season in Kansas City. We had a full season with one case out of all of those home games. We had a successful season. So we've proven, that live entertainment can take place. So as we start waking up, what do you foresee for you and for jazz as we kind of start going through this year and waking up and warm weather and things happening? What do you see happening?
Well, we're a little behind in Canada, so things are moving a little bit slower because none of the vaccines are being made here. It's, everything has to get shipped over, and then they're not rolling it out as well, unfortunately. So I'm not as optimistic. I have a lot of U.S. friends, and I've heard all of those things, and my brother-in-law already has the first dose of the vaccine, and because he lives in New York, and I was talking to Nir Felder, who's a great guitarist that lives in New York, and he was saying, I already starting to get gigs in Europe in the summer. I was very jealous. It sounds so great. So, I think as things open up, it's going to be fantastic. I think there's going to be a huge rush, and I think there's going to be sustained enthusiasm for a while. I really do. For at least 6 months to a year, it's going to be crazy. And then I think it'll slowly get back to normal. But I think it's going to be good for a while. As I said, I think not only because people are just dying to get out and see music and be with people, but also artists have been sitting with projects and, writing and, you put a creative person and you isolate them for a while, and they're going to just create because that's what they know to do. And, I think a lot of people are suffering too, but a lot of times out of that suffering can come really great creative output. So I think it's going to be really good. And I think, we knew that the winter was going to be tough. We knew there was going to be a second wave, and we knew that because of the weather and not being able to be outside, so everyone's literally cooped up in their homes, it was going to be tough. So I think, today in Toronto, it's a beautiful day. It's like 10 degrees Celsius, which is like low 50s, and it's super sunny. And I took my kids for a walk this morning, and it's great. It's so good for your soul to just be outside again. And so I think it's going to be great. I really do. I think things are going to start happening, and musicians are going to be bursting with all these ideas and new projects and things that they've been ruminating on, and I'm so excited for it. I cannot wait to get out. Start, and even just to start rehearsing with people again, because it's hard to take ideas when you're isolated and move on them. And so you just kind of get to a point where it's hard. You can't keep creating new ideas without actually executing any of them, or at least it can be difficult. I'm sure some people can. I've had a hard time where I'll go through waves where I'll be super creative and writing a bunch of stuff, and then because nothing happens with it, it's not even that you get discouraged, but it's just well, did it even happen?
Right.
Did I, I've written some arrangements and I've completely forgotten about them because I wrote them a year ago, and then they just sat there because I can't play with my band. So there's no way to perform these things. So then, I don't know. I have no idea what I've done over the past year. I know I've been doing stuff.
Yeah. Well, then that could be the whole thing where you have these bands that have the lost tapes. It's it can be called the COVID tapes.
Right.
Everybody's going to have this treasure trove of things that, have been hidden for all this time. Let's go on kind of a weird road to nostalgia. What was the last show that you had in 2020?
I actually got to play a little bit during the summer when things opened up a bit. I did get to play a couple gigs at the Rex, which is a great jazz club here in Toronto. That would have been, when was it? The last show we played there, I think, was in September, because I remember being there and we were all kind of looking at each other going, I don't think this is going to be open for very long. They didn't open they were only open for about a month and a half. They opened in about August or maybe late July, and it was all very safe. There was, clear plexiglass on the stage, and I had to wear a mask the whole time, and it was a quarter capacity or whatever. But at least we were playing music, which was amazing. But then, before that, I released my new album, my own project called Tetrahedron, in March, which is the last time we chatted, and I played the CD release shows for that, and that was the weekend before everything shut down.
Wow.
So I just got in. Just got in, before everything shut down. So that was kind of the end of that. It was my CD came out the Friday before everything shut down.
Wow. So,
I was thrilled that I did get everything in, but, then it was just so, I kind of try to forget about it now, but it's hard to think back about all the things that were supposed to happen in the past year. All the gigs, the tours, just all the fun music moments that were supposed to happen that didn't. But then, I try to just keep reminding myself, they will happen. It's just this time they didn't. And it sucks, but it is what it is. And I'm still alive and I'm still healthy. And so the fact that I didn't get to do what I wanted to do, you can only feel bad about that for so long. You have to try and keep everything in perspective and remember that that there's people dying. A lot of people are getting really sick, and so I just keep reminding myself to do my part, and it helps for me because I have 2 young children, so they keep everything. So kids are really good to help with perspective because they they kind of, I feel like they are constantly providing me with perspective as to what's important and what really matters. I mean, my daughter is 4, so COVID, like quarantine has been a quarter of her life now.
Yeah.
So that's just like, she's just used to that reality. You know, we leave the house, she grabs a mask, puts it on, she knows what's up. There's like she's better at it than any of us are, because she's, you know, she probably doesn't really remember going to school without wearing a mask.
That's a trip.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? A quarter of her life. It's nuts.
Yeah.
I think that really helps kind of keeping everything in perspective. And, you know, I try not to dwell too much on all the things that didn't happen and just think about all the things that will and how exciting it will be. You know, it's always fun to tour and it's always fun to play, but it's going to be so much more exciting. That first time I get to play in a different city, I'm going to lose my mind. The first time I get on a plane, I love traveling. So I love touring because it's like I get to travel and make music every day. It's the best. And so the first time I go to the airport, I'm gonna be just bubbling. Yeah. And so that's, you know, but then the other side of that is there's been a year where I've been able to put my kids to bed every single night. And even when I'm home, that doesn't happen because I work a lot of nights. And so, you know, the other side of it is there's this beautiful year where I've just been able to be a part of every minute of my kids' lives, for better or for worse. And so, you know, I just try and constantly keep both sides, like, be aware of both sides.
Yeah. Yeah, the Libra thing. Yeah, I get it. I totally do. This has been a year of self-reflection, and when you look back on, you know, everything and your life and all of these things that we've been discussing, what have you realized? What new revelations have you come to about your music career, your life, creativity, what you're going to do as you move forward?
I mean, I feel very fortunate, to be honest. I feel very lucky to be able to live a life where I get to make music as my career. I mean, I also, as you mentioned earlier, I do other things. I run a publicity company, and I just launched a label. And then I teach as well. I teach at the University of Toronto. So, I mean, but all of those things are music, and they all bring me so much happiness. I feel so lucky to be able to do all that stuff. And it's been cool or neat how, taking away the performance opportunities, I still feel very lucky that my life was still surrounded by music because of all those other things. I'm still teaching. I'm still running the publicity company. So I'm still talking to great people about music all the time. And, you know, I feel lucky that we were in a situation where we were able to stay safe and stay home, and we didn't have to, you know, put ourselves in harm's way or our kids in harm's way because it's, you know, it's been a scary time. So I think that's kind of what I reflected on, just how fortunate I am to kind of be able to make music as a you know, major part of my life. And I mean, I think I covered it, right? I want to get out there and play again. I mean, I'm launching a label which is really exciting, called Three Pines Records, and so that's been really neat, and we're really excited about that. And I'm doing that with my sister, Amy Cervini, who's a wonderful singer based in New York, and her husband, Oded Leberie, who is a arranger and composer who lives in New York as well, obviously, and he also runs Anzik Records. And so each of us have our own kind of special knowledge about recording and releasing music. My sister Amy used to run an artist management company, so she knows a lot about marketing and like career planning and stuff like that. And then I run Orange Girls Publicity, so I know about all the publicity stuff. And then my brother-in-law runs a record label, so he already knows how to do all this stuff, and he has relationships in the business. So we're really excited about this partnership, and so that's something that we're really looking forward to. And I can't wait to get out and play. I want to play with, you mentioned that I won an award last year. I guess it was announced. I know what day it was announced because it was my daughter's birthday. On June 29th, they announced the winners of the Juno Awards, which are kind of Canada's Grammys. And my band Turboprop won a Juno for Jazz Album of the Year for last year. And actually, that's what I was doing the moment that everything kind of shut down. I had a flight that night to fly to Saskatchewan for the Juno Awards, and then I got an email or whatever. I got a text saying that Junos had been canceled, and that was the beginning of like everything kind of grounding to a halt. But so I'm super excited to get out and play with that band again because we did some kind of quarantine videos together where we all recorded our parts separately and I put them together, and that was really fun to at least make music kind of with them. But man, I can't wait to make music actually with them. And two of the guys live in New York, so it's, there's a border that needs to open before that's going to happen. So we just have to be patient, which is what we've been doing for a year now. Continue to be patient.
That's true. So let me ask you this. When we do return, when you get on stage, we get the crowd, what do you hope we all realize about this long time away from live music? Things that will take away that hopefully will stay around.
I really hope that people remember that there's nothing like live music because it gets easy to there's so much amazing stuff on the internet now, and you can sit in your house and watch a show from Smalls in New York, or you can sit and watch videos of guys playing on, TV variety shows from the 60s, or like there's so much. There's just hours and hours and hours and hours of footage on YouTube and wherever else. And it's great, but there's nothing like being in the room and seeing it live. And I think, just like, you and I are both big sports fans. It's the same with that. It's cool to watch. I'm a huge hockey fan as well as most sports really, but hockey is probably my favorite. And watching them, they pipe in crowd noise and they're getting pretty good at making it. I wouldn't know that it wasn't real because they're pretty good at making the reactions instantaneous and appropriate. But man, I miss going. I miss going. Yeah. I had tickets to opening day of the Jays for the Jays last year in Toronto. Yeah. And and then of course none of that happened. And so I think it's the same with live music. There's nothing like being there. It's so it's such an incredible feeling to be in the same room as people making and creating this live music. And I'm so excited to perform again, but I'm also equally excited to just go watch, to go see people make music. Because I think it's something we all took it for granted because we never could imagine that it would be taken away from us. And now that it has, I think that's the real thing. And also that feeling of not only seeing people make live music or play live sports, I really think they're kind of it's the same experience. But also the feeling of being a part of a collective as an audience, because you're in this situation where you're all experiencing this same amazing thing. And so it's so cool to be in that, to be in a big arena when your team scores and everyone freaks out together. Like, that's a powerful feeling. Or to be at a concert and someone takes a ridiculous solo and everyone's freaking out. It's like, that's an amazing feeling. And it just doesn't do the same when you're home. Even if you're, right. Even if you're with someone, probably not too many people. And so it's just, I think we've all lost that feeling of being a part of a collective like that as an audience or on stage or whatever. And so I hope that people remember, to be honest, I don't have any doubt that people are going to recognize what that feels like and want to be a part of that. We've all been home for a year now. I don't think anyone's going to want to be home much more. Like
No,
as soon as
I
we
agree.
can be out there, I think we all want to be out there, and just be surrounded by whatever it is that we love, whether it be music or sports, or I'm sure or literature or dance or whatever it is. I think we're all just craving that feeling of a community and being a part of something, and you can get that stuff through the internet, but it's nothing like the real deal.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah, very, very true. Ernesto, thank you for opening up about the new album. Good luck with it. Good luck with the return to the regular world, because, I can't wait myself. It's going to be glorious.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure, and it's always great to talk with you, Joe.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest cats in Toronto, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Ernesto for his commitment to jazz, his cool, and always being open and honest. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to theneonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.